Hello! Today we'll take a look at one of the first big tournaments of this year. It was a Poker Go Tour Championship and it was a free roll. This might not sound very exciting, but $1 million prize pool and only 50 players means that we can compare it to a 20k buy-in tournament. Our first hand takes place in early levels, so I used a pre-solved chippy V scenario on 60 big blind effective. Ranges might not be perfect here, but should be very close to this exact situation. Action starts with a raise from hijack with ace-10 off. This is of course fine play, as he should open with a little bit less than 30% of hands. Scott Seiver in the next seat decided to 3-bet his hand. He should split his continues in almost 50-50 with 3-bets and calls. Now things get interesting when Calvin Anderson decided to cold 4-bet his hand. This is a spot where he shouldn't have polarized range and 3-bet only a few percent of best hands. There are two main reasons for that. They're deep enough that sometimes he will get called, so he wants hands with both best equity and playability to play them post-flop in position, and second reason is blockers. These hands like ace-queen and king-queen generate the biggest fold equity. Ace-queen is on the bottom of 3-betting range and the solver already folds it sometimes. Seiver 5-bet all-in and we can see that his range should be jacks plus and ace-king with occasional bluffs with ace-5 suited. This is the range that crushes ace-queen. Now action is back on Calvin and he didn't think much about putting the rest of his stack in. This is pretty bad according to GTO. If he isn't folding this hand, then probably he has no 4-bet folds, because this was the hand on the bottom of his range. This might be the hardest part of 3-betting merged range. We have to draw the line where we want to fold and when to call, and it's very blurry because hands are very close together. When we have a polarized range, we already split it into two categories that are far away from each other, so it makes next decision very easy. In our second hand we catch action on the flop. Hand started with a raise from Haxton on the cutoff with around 30 big blinds and a call from Winter with less than 20 bigs. Ike c-bet here for quarter of the pot, and according to the solver it's the best play on this flop with the whole range. Sean Winter check-raised very small here, but with such a low stack to pot ratio he can still play it as a 2-street hand. If he would get called, he still would have less than pot size bet left on the turn. Solvers raise almost a quarter of range, and these raises are all over the place. For value it's mostly 2 pairs and best top pairs, but also some second and third pairs, some gut shots or even such random hands as queen deuce off. I think this is a spot where it's very hard to find so many bluffs here, and people usually underbluff these king high boards. Now the decision is on Haxton, who didn't hesitate too much and jammed his ace-queen off. I would say this looks like the classic play in free rolls, but he is known for very aggressive play post-flop, so I'm not that surprised. Solver doesn't like this and just calls with this hand, as with most of the range against this small 3-bet. Problem of jamming is that he gets called either by hands that crush him, like here he has only 10% equity, or hands that are flipping, like flush draws. I just don't see enough raise folds in big blind's range in this situation. Our last hand is one of the last hands of day 1 and takes place on the final table bubble. Nick Schulman opened aces on 12 bigs, and on this stack there are more jams than raises, but all the nutted hands want to just min raise here. Kristen Foxen called and we can see that she should defend with around half of hands, and queen jack off is always calling. On the flop Nick bet for quarter of the pot, and on this low SPR it's the only sizing, and aces bet most of the time, but we can see that overall he should check this board more often than not. Now Kristen decided to call, but we can see she could just jam with her hand, as with most of the broadways. Calling is okay, and we see a meaningless 4 of clubs on the turn. Action went check-check, but this is a mistake. Schulman should always bet with his aces, small with an ace of diamonds and just go all-in without a flush draw. Kristen clearly has something because she called on the flop, and aces are very good to go for value. They don't block any pairs, and also when a diamond comes on the river we might not get any more action. On the river Foxen blockbet her second pair. This is very good play, as the solver bets small with almost all second pairs here. I changed Nick's range to include some aces, and this hand is good enough to go all in on the river, even without a diamond. Now Foxen is facing a very hard decision. She used all her time banks and eventually called, and this is a small misstep. Of course, she has a very easy call with all her flushes, but because in this sizing her range is mostly queens, she has to fold some of them and call others, and queen jack off with jack of diamonds should be in the fold category. This is very specific situation where blocking bluffs is much more important than blocking value, because there is only one value combo that makes some sense in Nick's range, and this is ace-jack suited. And for bluffs, he has all the jack-10 off and some jack-9 off, so blocking them is much more important here. That's all for today. Next week don't expect a standard hand review, because I prepared some special video about the history of solving poker. Subscribe to the channel to not miss it, and see you next time. Bye.